Welcome, friends. It's another episode of Flake News. Probably the last one. Maybe I'll sneak another one in. Get you another clue. What am I talking about? Well, we're going to do a little giveaway. I'm getting prepped for PT Baltimore. I'm leaving in a couple days to fly out there to Baltimore. I'll be there probably late Wednesday through till about Monday. So if you're there, you see me, give me a swift hello. But I want to give away one of these bad boy cards. I've got a few of these to give away. It is Good Deeds Don't Go Unnoticed. It is a exclusive promo that I got. I got a stack of them. I want to give some away to you. So how do you do that? Well, I'm going to do a little contest. Now, I did one of these at Pro Tour New Jersey, and it was awesome. So I figured I'm going to do it a little, do a little redo. We're going to talk a little bit about Oldhim, the meta and such, and who I think is going to win the Pro Tour. But I want to get you locked and loaded on this giveaway before we talk about why I think Oldhim is going to win the Pro Tour. So here it is. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to be in Pro Tour Baltimore. I have a card in mind. I'm going to be dropping some cryptic clues. What you have to do, if you are in Baltimore and you see me, you say, Flake, is this the card you're thinking about? And you got to give me a physical copy of the card. If you say, I think this is the card, if you are correct, I will trade you that card for this card. Very simple. Very simple. So without further ado, here is the first clue. And that clue is, if I could find it real quick, here it is. Within this card lies a captain or commander whose major strength lied in his charming candor. He made his name behind a legend who would enlighten. Don't let the card fool you, there's no surprising the true Titan. There you are. There is your first clue. I will be dropping some through my Twitter account and maybe another video or two. Ultimately, though, that is your clue. Once again, very quickly, within this card lies a captain or commander whose major strength lied in his charming candor. He made his name behind a legend who would enlighten. Don't let the card fool you. There's no surprising the true Titan. That is the clue I'm giving you. That's clue number one. If you know the card, bring me a physical copy in Baltimore, and we'll hook it up. All right, so here is my thoughts about what I think the final table will kind of look like at PT. I think it's Oldhim. And now I had a previous episode of the Instant Speed podcast, which you can go check out if you go check out 983 Media. The last episode I had Dagan White representing Oldhim on a panel that included Levi Rauch representing Azalea and Mara Faris representing Dromai. And the whole thing was I wanted to discuss who I thought was, or who the top dog of the meta was going to be from a hero perspective. Very simple, very easy. Ultimately, I personally believe it's Oldhim. I sided with Dagan, and you know me, I put a lot of time in there. Is it because Oldhim is just doing busted, broken, crazy stuff? I don't think so. I think it's just because it is the hero that has the fewest amount of bad matchups, as it were. And it also has been around for, a year and a half. So there's been plenty of reps. There's been plenty of players who are so comfortable with the hero because the hero has always been good. It's always been viable. So ultimately, it comes down to the fact that why play something new that might corner certain elements, but is also within the crosshairs of the vast majority of the players who are out there, when you could play something like Oldhim that has already been targeted, been tried to be figured out. Oldhim can do so many things. It can be aggressive. It can be full-on shutdown fatigue. It could play more mid-range. It's very flexible. It can pivot its strategy accordingly without making too many changes here or there. It is the most versatile deck and the most resilient deck in the entire game. And I say that not just because Oldhim's my favorite hero. I say that because I've witnessed enough tournaments, I've witnessed enough metas where at the outset of a new card's being released, whenever the meta starts to develop, the first thing that happens is everybody wants to try the new hotness. Everybody wants to give the new stuff a try. They go out there, they play the new cards, they try the new combos, they realize that stuff's broken, busted, whatever kind of buzzwords they want to use. It's strong, and that's fine. That's what happened to Azalea. If we saw the Realm Brawl, the final table of Brody Spurlock versus Levi Rauch was an Azalea mirror. Yeah, that's kind of funky, that's cool, that's great. Azalea's not bad. Azalea's good. Tarek Patel just recently released his tier list, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I think that he's spot on. Oldhim is still S tier, and Azalea being A tier doesn't mean that she's, not going to win. It just means that she's not as good as where Oldhim is. Lexi being put in an S tier, I think, is respect that Lexi deserves, that I've been sort of beating the drum on for about a month and a half now. My buddy Nick Bolas, who's been playing Lexi almost exclusively, has been heralding this hero as being the top dog for a long time, has been putting together quite significant numbers. I've been playing it on stream. You've seen me play Lexi. All this to say, the reason why Oldhim is on top and Azalea sunk down is because once the flash and awe of a new hero kind of dissipates, once the allure of a new hotness disappears, you're left with people figuring it out, trying to target it, and then you're left with, once the dust settles, who's still standing? It's those who have been standing the entire time. And one of the important things that I try to convey to people is that there's always going to be the mantra of, well, people know it's good and people are going to be targeting it and preparing for it. People have been preparing for Oldhim since Oldhim came out, and I don't see anybody who's got a magic button for it. And people might say, well, what about, big dragon control old Dromai? Yeah, it's fine. Honestly, that comes down to a skill matchup and resource allocation and making sure that you're doing the right thing. But I honestly wouldn't favor that in Dromai's side. I don't think there's enough elite Dromai players in the world who are going to go out there and push people off of Oldhim. Oldhim is a stalwart hero who has just been steadfast in terms of what they can do and how strong they've been for so long. Oldhim's going to win this tournament. Oldhim is going to win this tournament. And the reason why Oldhim's going to win this tournament is because it doesn't do one thing exceptionally other than adapt. It's the most adaptable hero. You could take a pool of 100 cards, whittle it down to 80, and say, I could play control, I can play mid-range, and I can play aggressive. You can do that. You could absolutely do that, and it's not necessarily going to take away from one or another thing. Those 20 cards you might cut out of a 100-card pool might say, well, now I'm no longer hyper aggressive because I've cut out zealous beltings and I'm only playing 3 pummels instead of, let's say, 5 or 6. You can cut those out and it's not going to hurt you. You can cut out Fate for Scenes and you can cut out something like 3 to 6 different D reacts and say, well, I'm no longer hyper defensive, but I'm still defensive. I'm still playing some staunch responses. I'm playing a 3-pack of Sink Belows. Feeling good in the neighborhood. That's all good. It is the most resilient hero, in my opinion. I don't think there are many heroes that can pivot the way it does. And in a field of hundreds and hundreds of the best players in the world competing, you need that adaptability. You need to be a chameleon that can get the lay of the land and blend in without being hyper targeted or beat to all hell. And I think that Oldhim is not just going to win, but I think people are going to realize that it's not the boogeyman. It's not doing anything over the top. It's not like a Kano that's ripping 45 to 50 damage off of this miracle run or this really incredible pitch stack. It's more so that it's just a hero that is very skill intensive, lots of decisions, requires a lot of endurance for the player who's playing it. The games are going to last a while, but it always has a game plan. It always has a line to victory that then becomes a situation where the player who's piloting the deck needs to cleanly follow the correct path. Once the decision tree is presented to you, you need to have the kind of willpower to not take the greedy route and divert from the path. And I think that Oldhim players are well equipped. Ask the best Oldhim players in the world. if they're ever going to come off that hero. It's going to take a lot. And Azalea, with the big dominate effects and all that other nonsense, sure. Big dominate effects can get through, some of the Oldhim defenses, but I don't think the on-hits are all that relevant, Red in the Ledger is pretty nasty, but Oldhim's just going to be like, okay, I'll still swing at you. I just need one action. Remorseless doesn't do a whole lot for it, Blood Rot, sure. Frailty, who cares? Inertia, okay. Like, these are all fascinating elements. Inertia probably being the most devious because it does take away from your Crown of Seeds cycle and a little bit of that cushion. But ultimately, Oldhim is going to win this tournament because it's the most adaptable. And in the short period of time between Outsiders release and the Pro Tour, you rely on what you know best. Players might think that they have an Azuri list that just crushes, and they might. But are they going to put in the same amount of games and experience that an Oldhim player has already harvested for, a year and a half? Probably not. Doesn't mean that they're not good. Doesn't mean that they're not going to win games. Doesn't mean that they might not top 8 or even win the whole tournament. But Oldhim has the luxury of being adaptable, resilient, and also some longevity that the players who are leaning on it don't need to worry about things like, well, shoot, okay, now I got to figure out the Katsu matchup. I need to figure out the Phi matchup. I need to figure out the Icelander matchup. They go out there and say, like, all right, what's the newest nasty ingredient in this recipe? What's the dirtiest part of this soup right now? Oh, it's Azalea? All right, well, I've already shored up my Icelander matchups, my Briar matchups, my, Bravo, the Mirror, Lexi, whatever. I just need to deal with Azalea now because she's the newest hotness. So I'm going to put 90% of my CC prep into dealing with that. Then I'm going to feel good. So that's kind of where I'm at on who's going to win the tournament. And don't forget, friends, to also check out my Twitter at WatchFlake for more clues on the giveaway. I've dropped the clue at the beginning of this, and I will once again be giving away some cool stuff. So if you see me in Baltimore, don't be shy. Come say hello. I'm a hugger for sure, so don't worry about that. Just if I'm peeing at a urinal, let me pee in peace. Feels good? Awesome. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll see you in Baltimore. Love you. Mean it.